All right, 97.7 Outlaw Radio FM listeners, we are live in full effect right here, right now. And we got the one and only, we got the West Coast Canadian legend, multi-platinum recording artist. We got Sikadime live on the line. How you doing this evening?
Thank you for having me, Immortal. I'm honored to be on here and rocking with you tonight, man. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good, man. I gotta ask, man, how's everything out in British Columbia, man? Because I do know down here in Ontario that Rona's really kicking our ass.
Right now, it's we got lockdowns. You know, we're just all playing it safe out here too. One day at a time, as I keep saying.
Hey, well, hopefully, hopefully everything gets back to normal soon, man, so we can all get back to living normal lives.
Oh, I hope so too. I know, I got some family members that are scheduled for their vaccine shots. I'm still up in arms. Do I go for it, or I've been playing it safe? I've been, mask, gloves, work booties everywhere I go. So I try and keep an extra safe measure.
But I want to take you back to the beginning, man, because I know you've been doing this hip hop thing for a long, long time, man. But I want to know, man, what actually inspired you to get into this music industry initially, man? Because you're such a talented individual.
I keep. This is one common question that comes about, and I don't think it's posted anywhere. But it was actually, when you hear hip hop, the first time I ever heard hip hop was actually in the movie Oliver and Company, the Walt Disney movie from the '80s. Within the first 5 minutes of the movie, you hear a character with a boombox walking down the street, and you hear this hip hop beat playing before they break out into the Billy Joel song. And then, DJ Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince and stuff like that. But what hooked me in was OPP, but Naughty by Nature on Dance Mix 91 cassette.
Yeah, man, you most definitely can never go wrong with Naughty by Nature, man. Instant classic, man. You can never go wrong with that joint.
No. When I heard that piano loop, the beat, the way it was constructed, is like, and I let KG know this from time to time. Like that track just opened up my whole realm. And then years later, like me and Vinrock became friends over like Facebook, and we found out we had the same day for her birthday. So it was kind of nice that even sharing the same birthday was another connection for me to Naughty by Nature.
And also as well, man, I actually noticed that you were actually a member of the group The Apocalypse that actually caught the ear of Suge Knight, and where you actually signed a deal to the Row Underground. I was wondering if you can tell us the story behind the Row Underground, because unfortunately you don't really hear very much of that particular record label like nowadays.
No, it was very short-lived. I signed back in the summer of 2002 when I was 17. And by June 2003, it was done. The subsidiary label was done. When I was on there, I still had to finish up college. But then when I went down there in March of 2003 to finish recording my album, things just started to fall apart along the way. My other member, he took back off to Canada, and then I ventured out as a solo artist, because my A&R, Joe, he was just like, hey, you can still pursue this. You can still go ahead. I'm like, okay. So, and then just by, end of May, June 2003, there was... Death Row was going through their label trouble, through their IRS troubles and stuff like that, and next thing you know, I go to the office and it's locked up, chained up, and locked up.
Damn, that's crazy. I gotta ask you though, man, what was it like just being around Suge Knight? Because a lot of people say they liked him, a lot of people say they didn't like him, man. What was it like just working alongside Marion Suge Knight?
Well, that's the thing. Whenever I see how in the movies how he's been painted in Straight Outta Compton and All Eyes on Me, that's not the Suge that I remember. Suge was nice to me. Because my mom had to sign off on the contract because I was underage, right? She she got to know him a little bit, right? Just conversing over the phone back in those days, right? Like, we didn't have MySpace, and I didn't even have email, right? So it was pretty much like, take care of my son, right? And he's like, I'm a family man. I have kids of my own, right? So it was kind of like that, you know.
But I still got to say, man, right then and there, you actually made Canadian history, man, because I don't know how many other Canadian hip hop artists were actually signed to one of the biggest West Coast imprints of all time. I think realistically, you're one of the only Canadian hip hop artists to actually do that, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, like at that time, and this is where I get written off the history books in Canadian hip hop, is when people talk about Canadian artists that were signed on U.S. labels. There was only three of us at that time. There was only Shock Blair, Socrates, and myself.
But also as well, man, you actually have to, even in this as a solo artist, you've done phenomenal things as well, man. That in 2006, your self-funded album Rejuvenated, which actually gave you a gold single. I was wondering, can you tell our listeners a bit more about that phenomenal record? And of course, how did it feel to be a self-funded artist and actually went as far as got yourself a gold record?
Well, it took a while to get that gold record, but it was a fluke. It was a mistake. And I'll explain it how it went down. So, you know, when artists press up an album independently, you know, you have the option of 1,000 CDs, right? Well, the company I was going through, the album got pressed up at Sony's facilities in Toronto. And my chicken scratch, next thing you know, how many CDs I get receiving at my end was 10,000 CDs instead of 1,000, right? My credit card bill is like over $7,000. I'm like, oh, how am I going to? I was only planning on 1,000 CDs. How am I going to do this? Because here's the thing, right? All CDs, the final pressing, that's it. It's final, right? So you can't like say, hey, I need to return this, right? So I got creative. I went to a store called The Beat Goes On. I was looking for Warren G's Take a Look Over Your Shoulder album. They said they didn't have it in the St. Catharines store, but they could order it from Brampton. So they shipped it down from Brampton. And I'm like, oh, okay, I can, maybe if I get my CDs into CD Plus, you know, have people across Canada go into their local CD Plus, order the CD. They got the number for it, right, and ship the CD out from these two stores in the Niagara region. And that's how we started doing that. And then I got a distribution deal with 101 Distribution down in the States. They were like doing stuff with like Tilly, Quelly, Styles. It was an underground distributor down in Phoenix, and they took my album, did it across all the Southwest, and next thing you know, we're moving units and going on tour, moving units, and I'm just like, you know what? That was easy. Let's press up another 10,000, and we just kept going from there. And I actually sold like the last physical CD about 3 years ago.
And I gotta ask as well, man. Like when you said you went on tour, like how far did you actually go? Did you actually go overseas, or did you just keep that tour within Canada?
Oh, I've never done a cross Canada tour itself. It's always been in the States and overseas.
Oh damn! I actually did not know that, because like I heard from so many other Canadian artists that it's really hard for them to actually just to get their music even out of Canada, let alone tour the States. So I gotta ask you, do you ever think you might do like a Sikadime tour, like just across Canada?
I've tried so many times. The closest I've been was like my North American tour. Back in 2012, I had like Vancouver, Harrison Hot Springs, Calgary, and Toronto. I've done like independent tours around Ontario. The farthest I've gone is like Winnipeg, and I've never even touched base in like Montreal, for example. I've done like Cornwall, Ottawa. I did Ottawa Expo in 2009. But yeah, I've never touched Halifax.
I gotta say, that's really crazy that you did Cornwall, man. That actually is about a 35 to 40-minute drive away from the radio station headquarters, man. So I'm very familiar with Cornwall.
Yeah, Cornwall, Napanee. We did Ottawa, then Kingston, I've never even done Peterborough. I've done Sudbury, but I've never actually done like a full-fledged Canadian tour. Like I've joined like other artists in certain cities. If I was like, connecting a flight or something, going somewhere else, I would like stop by, do a quick 15-minute set at their show, and then bounce, right? So I've never really had a full-fledged, east to west Canadian and even the Northwest Territories, what I would love to accomplish.
And also as well, man, in 2010, I read that you actually had one of your albums inducted into the Canadian Library of Archives. I was wondering if you can tell our listeners about that, and of course, like, how does it feel to actually have one of your albums solidified within Canadian history?
Actually, that number has grown. So Carpe Noctem got inducted, City Lights EP got inducted, and Rejuvenated got inducted. And as you can see, like if you look up the Canadian Library and Archives, Rejuvenated, going back to that, it did 66,000 copies, physical and digital sales. So they have my recorded album sales as well in the Canadian Library and Archives. So yeah, 2010, all 3 albums got inducted. And then just actually a couple of weeks ago, I got an email from them, Going the Distance, The Wooden Spiral Staircase, and Then Missing Out When They're Not Here are being inducted as well.
I gotta say, man, congratulations on that, because like in 100 years from now, they might pull your music out and actually show the future, man, when technically we will be considered their ancestors. So I gotta say, man, your music's gonna live on forever.
I still get a mind trip about that because it's like I have a friend that works who's a librarian back in Fenwick, Ontario, and she was talking to me about like that's a pretty big thing to have your music inducted into that library, because even after we're all dead and gone, your music is still going to live on.
Most definitely. You never know. People like about 1,000 years from now could be driving around in flying cars listening to your music, man. You know what I mean? Hey, either way it works, man. You know what I mean? That's history right there, and that's what I like to hear. Especially being a Canadian myself, I love to hear other artists and other individuals that are in the music industry in this country make it, man. Because I heard so many stories about how it's so hard to even get heard in Canada. Because I heard a lot of artists say, "Oh, Canadian hip hop," people think that's a joke. So I'm really glad that individuals like yourself is getting heard not only in our country but worldwide.
Well, yeah, but I may have a reason why behind that, because as you know, also like I was with Cypress Hill's label too, right? The thing I found about being in the States more was in the States, even across over in Europe, right? People support. One thing, like, are a fan of you, they support you like their favorite sports teams, right? Whereas Canada, I think we're still a little bit behind. We don't know how to support because most of us Canadian artists work, a 9 to 5, right? And then, all of a sudden we could be at the Junos one night and the next morning we're back at our 9 to 5. Like I had a friend one time tell me just recently, he's like, "Oh man, I can't wait for you to blow up." I'm like, "Yo, man, I have like 6 gold records for Ride Out with Be Real. I have the gold single for Rejuvenate, 2 gold singles for the Kayak song, 1 platinum record for the T.I.'s album." And it's like, what is success to you that's different from me? Why aren't you looking at me like I'm successful? But I think it's because Canadians don't know how to support. We say we do, but no, go to England. They support their artists, even foreign artists like the soccer team. If I ask most of my friends to recite some of my lyrics, they can't. They'll just tell me, "Oh, they like the beat." You know what I mean? So I don't even focus my energy here. Like I focus my energy to like, the Asian market, down South America, Brazil. When I do marketing plans, I'm aiming for all these markets. When Rejuvenate was released, I literally had to Google how to become an indie artist in Asia. You know what I mean? I found these resources of fact that, Japan is the second largest music market in the world. Why am I going to cater to Canada when, there's like 127 million total paying people in Tokyo, just alone in Tokyo? So that's why it's hard for Canadian artists to break here, because if you look at Sarah McLachlan, um, Bryan Adams, you look at Celine Dion, most of their careers really took off once they hit the U.S. market, and 40% of all CD albums sold in Japan is international too. So it goes to think, like, where is Canada still falling behind, and where can we actually start to succeed? And it goes down to support.
And also, when you actually brought up Cypress Hill a few moments ago, I noticed as well that you actually contributed vocals to Be Real's album, The Harvest. I was wondering, how did yourself and Be Real initially get connected? Because I do know, obviously, you were signed to like Cypress Hill's record label, but how did yourself and the entire group get connected initially? Because I gotta say, that must have been just a monumental story, just, you know what I mean, just of how your come up was within the music industry.
It's an interesting story. So a homie of mine, this is actually the homie that was with me in the Apocalypse. My buddy PJ, he's still a close homie of mine. I make sure he's good. PJ knows a friend. She was in a group called Subliminal Orphans, Philly rap rock group, right? And she is also did work for Be Real TV and stuff like that. They had a collab track called Shut the Fuck Up, and so something was coming about, Be Real was looking to put together this project called The Harvest, and Amy's like, yo, submit some tracks, and Be Real and Jay Turner, rest in peace, heard a couple of my tracks, and they're just like, man, this guy sounds rough and rugged like Send Dog, so let's get him out here, right? And so the day I was recording with Be Real in the studio, Be Real's homie, childhood friend, came by the studio, Big Marv. He was also part of running Lion Thug Records. He came by and he's like, yo, we need to sign this guy, man.
And I gotta say, man, they most definitely made a phenomenal choice actually signing you. And I gotta say, when we're still on the topic of Be Real and Cypress Hill and whatnot, what was it like actually just contributing to Be Real's record? Because in my personal opinion, that's one of Be Real's most famous records.
Yeah, I'm surprised, as I know, the success, what we have with the track Ride Out, I get my weekly updates about that song, and that song is, man, we just got a gold record from Russia about it, you know what I mean? So it's one of those songs that is an underrated hit, but, because we pushed it effectively in 2010, 2011, it's still making numbers to this day. And same with the song I got Back for More with Mellow Man Ace, the original member of Cypress before Cypress was Cypress. That's always still a big tune for me elsewhere in the world, right? So, but none of those tracks get effectively played here in Canada.
And also, as well, aside from music, you were actually an author as well, where you actually wrote the book Hustler's Gospel, a guide for the indie artist. I have to ask you, what made you decide to write that book? And of course, where can we actually snag ourselves a copy of that book today?
Well, that's the thing. I'm getting prepared to drop my second book. I'm doing a lot of writing during this pandemic, right? I've retired from releasing any more albums, so I'm focusing energy. And how Hustler's Gospel came about is all these artist friends of mine, they're asking, how did you do this? How did you do that? And I'm like, you know what? Maybe I should, I read all these other indie guides, that come out from CD Baby, Spotify, stuff like that. And I'm just like, you know what? You guys are not talking right. Let me put how I did stuff down and see how it can be helpful for other artists. Because I got a lot of gems, and a lot of stuff I learned was from Houston cats, Compton cats, the different angles of marketing and stuff like that. Swisher House, Dope House Records, Necro Psychological, Urbnet Records. I talked to all these people behind the scenes, and I learned a lot of game from all of them. So I'm putting my own how I do stuff a little different, and stuff that's not brand new to the game, but that's forgotten about the game. in these little ebooks right now. So, the game to be sold, but not to be told, right? So just a little helpful stuff and gems for artists on the come up too.
And also as well, man, on February 28th of 2021, so just recently, man, you actually released the compilation album Greatest. I was wondering what made you decide to drop that compilation record, and of course, where can our listeners snag themselves some copies if they haven't done so already?
Yeah, Greatest is pretty much the greatest hits compilation. Figured I'd put one out, like it's, something for 2021 during this pandemic. What were my highest? I put it together as like all my highest achieving songs, whether it was views, song plays, streams, stuff like that. These songs were the most songs that made an impact for my career. Um, and so people could cop that on like any digital platform, Apple Music, iTunes, Spotify, Amazon, and so forth like that.
And I gotta say as well, ladies and gentlemen, either you get it or you most definitely will regret it, because this right here is the greatest. It's named exactly what it is, greatest. So make sure you snag yourselves a copy today. But also as well, I noticed that you actually received a platinum plaque for your involvement in T.I.'s My Type from the album T.I.P. I was wondering, how did you yourself and T.I. get connected? And of course, what was it like working with him on that project?
I've never actually met T.I. So in 2004, a homie hit me up. He's like, "Hey, can you play piano on this beat for me?" So I wrote this composition, right? I write sheet music, and that was in 2004. Next thing you know, this beat got rearranged a little bit, but it ended up being on T.I.'s album. The song "My Type," and people were just like, I don't have no credits or anything, but because I own the sheet music, I get this thing called it's composition licensing, right? So I earn royalties from that song.
I gotta say as well, man, it's pretty cool that you actually received that platinum plaque as well. You know what I mean? It definitely beats gold.
Oh yeah, it definitely. Well, for a Grammy nominated and platinum album, that's something. It took a while for me to hang it up, but like I got it up. It's a nice talk piece when people come over.
But I gotta ask you as well, man. Other than you say you're not releasing any new music, and you're writing a new book. Other than your new book that you're writing, what is next for you, man? Is there anything I happen to miss? Anything else you still want to talk about or promote? What we still have you here live on 97.7 Outlaw Radio FM.
I got a couple things. I got like 6 books already ready to go. It's just timing of executing them and formatting them for like ebooks and paperback. We first got Hustler's Gospel. That's just three important things that I focus on within the music industry. It's a short book. I'm going to come out with a longer version of that. I just wanted to test the waters with that, see how that goes. My second book that's about to drop in about 72 hours is a parenting book. It's my style of looking at like when I became a father, my fears and all that. It's called I Love My Kid But Yo. And then I have some self-investment type books I've been working on because a lot of people, it's just becoming to light that people are looking at me about important stuff that when I talk about investments and stuff like that, even though I'm not a financial advisor, just how I've played the game. For example, like Spotify, like people don't understand I own stock in Spotify. So when they became public 2 years ago, and how investors will get paid more, paid first from top tier artists than as opposed to somebody who's making 100,000 streams, stuff like that. So teaching, trying to teach. These are more education books for artists and people, just general know-how of like stuff that doesn't get talked about. And then maybe I'll eventually come out with my autobiography.
I gotta say, it definitely sounds like you're definitely keeping busy during this terrible pandemic, man. Hopefully, in 2022 it's a little better of a year for everybody around the world.
I hope so too, man. If they ever bring back, live venues and stuff like that, me and you, we gotta rock something out through Ontario there.
Hey man, I most definitely agree. I'm not gonna lie, man. I actually forget what the hell a concert feels like. It's been so long, man. But hopefully, man, we get back to normal so I can actually get this concert crap out of me. I can just go to nonstop concerts and kind of get my fix.
Yeah. Let's tour it up a bit, man. Let's tour it up out through Ontario and maybe some Quebec if we can get those bookings, you know.
Hey man, most definitely. You had me at concerts. That's all I'm gonna say. You had me at concerts.
Yeah.
But also, I gotta ask you, man, so this is the time in the interview that I give a chance for the individual that slides into the radio station airwaves. Just a chance to give shoutouts to whomever they want to give shoutouts to. But most of all, man, your social media handles. That way our listeners can follow you and stay updated everything Sikadime if they're not already doing so.
All right. I'd love to give a shout out to you, man. Congrats first and foremost on the award that you received from the Chamber of Commerce there. That is big for you, and I appreciate you having me on the radio today. I'd like to give a shout out to my wife, my son Arturo, my mom, all my family and friends. Always holding me down and make sure I'm steered right. And anybody can find me on Twitter, just Sikadime. Facebook, Sikadime Music. Instagram, Sikadime. You probably see me a lot liking everything on Outlaw Radio posts. So just find me in the likes on there and hit me up,
And I gotta say, man, first and foremost, I appreciate you, and I most definitely appreciate the love, man, that you actually show my platform. I do what I do for the love of hip-hop, man, so I'm just honored to have talented, legendary Canadian artists like yourselves, man, support me along the way, man. It's an absolute honor.
Well, I got some new shirts. I got the Carpe Noctem 10-year anniversary repressed up shirt, and I got a new shipment of Losers, Rejects, and Renegade shirts in. So expect to see that in the mail, homie.
Hey, man, I appreciate that. When we get off here, DM me and actually let me know how much that shipping is, man, and I'll actually get you up on the shipping.
No worries, I got you.
Hey, man, I appreciate that. But the offer's there for the shipping, bro. But I gotta say, man, I know you're a very busy guy, so I'm not gonna keep you very much longer, but I just want to say thank you so much again for years of amazing music. Thank you for helping to put our country and Canadian hip-hop on the map worldwide, man. It was an honor to welcome you on my radio station, and hopefully down the line when your second book drops, you know what I mean, we can actually get you back on and chop it up some more.
Oh, I'm for you anytime, any day, anytime, man. I'm a big fan of the radio show, and ever since we connected and got to know each other, man, it's like, you know what, anything for Outlaw Radio, I'm down for, man.
Hey, man, I appreciate you so much, brother. You have yourself a wonderful night out there in BC, and we most definitely shall chop it up soon.
All right, peace out.